Welcome to Leading Minds Revealed, the podcast that pulls back the curtain on how today's top leaders harness the power of mindfulness to conquer the fast-paced, ever-changing world of business. In each episode, we sit down with C-suite executives and leaders who share their strategies for navigating rapid change with skill and clarity. Join us as we uncover the transformative mindsets that drive extraordinary leadership. These insights aren't found in business books, and they'll revolutionize the way you lead. And now, here's your host, Michael Apollo.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Leading Minds Revealed. In this episode, we're exploring the value of a learning-focused mindset in leadership, why it matters now more than ever, and how it can transform resilience, teamwork, and organizational culture. We're going to explore why maintaining a learning mindset is more powerful than relying on expert answers, how global leadership experiences can shape a leader's view on culture, communication, and teamwork, and the role of motivation and synergy in keeping teams resilient through change. My guest today brings more than 20 years of international leadership experience across Pakistan, the US, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and now in Canada. He currently serves as Vice President of Risk and Compliance at Integris Credit Union, a community-based financial institution with over $1.8 billion in assets under management. With that, let's welcome our guest, Humayun Ali. Humayun, it's great to have you on the show.
Michael, thank you. Thank you for having me on your podcast. And it's a privilege to share some of my experience and thoughts with your audience. I followed your work, and it's great stuff that you're doing. And I think these conversations are very important in a time when the leadership is being tested in so many ways.
Yeah, well, thank you. Thank you so much for that. And I'd love to dive right into some of the things that we touched on in a call prior to this recording. And you spoke about the importance of leaders maintaining a learning-focused mindset rather than operating from a place of I have all the answers. Why is this so central to your leadership today?
If the last decade or so has taught us anything, it's that answers expire. Regulations shift, technology leaps, as we have seen recently with generative AI. Geopolitical situations ripple through markets, and what feels certain on Monday is obsolete on Fridays. By Friday, so things are changing rapidly, and it's the learning mindset that leads you to help your organization and yourself to reach those goals, the strategic goals that are set, define those tactical milestones, and deal with the daily routine problems and challenges that can define success, not only for yourself, for the organization as a whole. So yeah, that's why I feel that learning mindset is very important. Being observant, what's going around, learning from stuff that's happening, and just build on what we see, we experience, we perceive.
I know that you're, you're a lifelong learner. And I know that's something that pursuit of knowledge is something that you hold in really, really high regard. But on a tangible, sort of practical daily basis, how do you sort of keep that learning mindset fresh? Because we just get caught up in so much, especially those of us in leadership positions, we get so caught up in the projects, the teams, the day-to-day tasks that it can be hard to really set that time aside to grow, to learn, to take that time to see what's happening in the latest industry trends, et cetera. So how do you keep it fresh on a practical basis, on a day-to-day type of basis?
It's the opportunity that everybody has to keep abreast with what is going on around us. And I think everybody is trying their best to do that. A little about me, I have recently finished my executive MBA from Kellogg program, which is a combined program from Northwestern University and York University. And now I'm going for my CFA charter and again another certification, cybersecurity certification. So with the mindset that there are many things that connect at the central point, and just discovering that central point and moving towards that central point uh, uh, really helps. So that's what I try to do. That's what I try to do. There's so many things going around, as I mentioned earlier, just keeping tab on that and making sure that you're current on that, and whatever challenges are there, you just try to learn from that, the mistakes that you've done, learn from that, and just move forward.
Mm. You know, I've I've always found that, the pursuit of like academics and additional sort of professional growth and development, it always sets a bit of that milestone for me. I'll project out, okay, I want to grow in this skill set, or I want to attain this, a designation so it can help me to do certain work that I can't perhaps do right now, or have some knowledge I don't have now. It sort of stretches me out of my comfort zone, and it's always sort of chasing this the next way of growing. And that's been really, really helpful. And on a day-to-day basis, something that I've noticed too is, because everything is changing so fast, I'm trying to follow certain industry platforms and influencers, industry leaders, and to stay informed on the pulse of what they're saying, where things are going. What I'm always finding is this fine balance of, what is actually a sort of value, what is clickbait, what is it that's actually going to lead to like a potential future reality that I need to be aware of. And that's always a struggle for me, I find, is this, what are the pieces of information that I need to consume when there's just a flood of it coming in? Um, I would just say, like, is that something that you grapple with? And if so, how do you handle that?
I think everybody is grappling with or trying to grapple with this situation. This flood of information that is, which most of the time is very distracting, and a lot of work needs to be done personally to make sure the right stuff is filtered. Again, going back to my earlier point about leadership, with all this is happening, with all this is changing, one needs to ensure that they are on top of different things that's happening. And the challenge is, what are those things? With generative AI coming into the picture, things have changed. I think this is the same paradigm shift that we saw, I don't know, 25, 30 years back when internet came in. It changed everything, and this is the start of the change, maybe a bigger change. So making sure that to understand what's going on really helps. For example, um, I am working on a certification right now, which pertains to cybersecurity. And just until very recently, cybersecurity certifications were meant for the people who were associated with IT sector. But me being a risk manager, ensuring that the organizations are able to achieve their goals, strategic goals, it's more and more important for me to understand the cyber security aspect of this change that we are facing. So again, understanding what's out there, posing yourself, and just moving forward is what probably helps me.
Yeah, I think like what you said there, this you need that North Star in terms of, what is the focus of my learning, and I think it's being really intentional. What I'm hearing too is really being intentional about the information that you're consuming, and how, and filtering out the rest. I'm constantly checking myself, going, okay, did I intend to consume this information? Is this something that I really want to be focusing on right now, or I need to be focusing on? Does this help the direction that I'm going? And I notice myself whenever I'm about to either read an article or watch a video, listen to a podcast, I sort of go through that initial check. And then I ask myself about the credibility, like, where is this information coming from? And I think from a risk perspective, that's that's something I'm noticing for myself. The risk of learning something from a source that may not be credible, or maybe skewing my perspective. And so, there's a lot of learning that you've had, leading in a number of different countries, Pakistan, the US, Saudi Arabia, UAE, and now in Canada. Each has like a distinct culture and leadership norms. What have you learned about leadership from working in such diverse cultural environments?
I always say that working in these 5 countries and living in these 5 countries gave me 5 different, what was like being in 5 different classrooms, each with its own leadership lessons. I grew up in Karachi, in Pakistan, which was cosmopolis, diversity, many languages, many culture. Moved to the US for my undergrad, worked in Boston, which was fast-paced, more structured, competitive environment, while Saudi and UAE was multicultural, melting pots, top-down leadership approach. In a meeting, you would have people from 6 different countries, 12 different accents, and maybe multiple dozen of different thoughts. And now in Canada, it's more consensus driven. That's what I felt. And again, so working in different cultures, different countries, and with different nationalities, it just helps you understand how to move forward effectively, how to ensure the decision process doesn't take days, weeks, then after that, weeks to implement, but rather if recognizing an issue, recognizing a problem, understanding the different solutions that are there, and then just going ahead with implementing. So again, working from more of a top-down approach to a bottom one now, from top-down to bottom-up now, a more collaborative one is a result of my experience in these countries that you named. Leadership looks different in different countries, different cultures. But the most important thing and the most constant thing and the most common thing is listening, observing, and then acting. So how it helped me for sure is just to make my decision more effective, my deliverables more productive.
Mm. What are some of those differences, when you think about, and first off, I really resonate with that, like listening, observing, and then acting. I think I spoke recently with Lamia Solomon, who's a commercial director for global markets at the League. And she's currently working in the UK and consulting with a global expansion out into the Saudi Arabia. And she landed on the same thing, that it's so important to listen, to observe, and then from that space act. And I find that for leaders who have had global exposure, to various different organizations, leadership styles, that pausing and then acting based on sort of collecting that information is like really valuable. Why is it valuable from your perspective to integrate that into your leadership style, this listen, observe, and then act? How can that help you with like leading teams and as a leader in general?
It's very critical, Michael. It's when you're dealing with people, with humans, They have humans have reasoning power, and that's what makes them human. When you're interacting with them, you need to listen to them. You need to hear from them. You cannot uh, 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 just be in a position where you are having maybe this is not the right word to use here, but more authoritarian temperament in trying to resolve the problem. Again, every problem is different, and every problem is mutating. So having the tendency to constantly listening to the people who are actually working and dealing on a daily basis makes it easier to ensure the achievement of that strategic goal that I mentioned earlier. That's the big thing. That's what the leader is thinking about. Those people who you're interacting with or should be interacting with, if not on a daily basis, but on a regular basis, are your eyes and ears. So you need to listen to them and need to understand what they have to say. For example, in a financial institution, financial institution is going through a challenging times. If not the big banks, definitely the smaller financial institution, the credit unions, and in the northern Canada or northwestern Canada, where they are more community based, and they're trying to serve their members. How to do it better? How to ensure? I mean, if credit unions are directly competing with the bigger banks, they're providing the services they're trying to provide the services similar to the bigger banks. So it becomes more and more important, more and more critical to ensure, understand what member is thinking, who is walking inside the door, and to ensure that we serve the member properly, as opposed to the other financial institution have more personal relationship. Our policies are better. Our rates, are, if not better, then at least they match the ones that are being offered by other financial institutions. So in order to have this all, in order to achieve this all, you need to be a good listener. You need to be able to sit with those people who are having interaction on a daily basis, as opposed to be somebody sitting on the ELD table and discussing the policy, the pricing framework based on some statistical model. So it's not analytical all the time, but it's more judgmental, subjective, and that subjectivity, that variable comes from listening and observing and constant interaction with the people who are on the ground. In my case, in the branches.
Well, yeah, you know what? I think that rings true across a number of industries. This idea of like human-centered leadership, but also when you think about it from a strategy perspective in organizations, right now, I'm noticing more and more from a number of leaders how integrated leadership needs to be with their teams, and it's that sense of an authoritarian type of leadership approach, how limiting it can be, because if we're not gathering input from the collective people who are on the ground doing the work, we might be missing so many opportunities and so much data points um, that no one person can hold, right? And it's so important to gain that input from the collective to be able to inform strategy. And it really starts by, I think, like you said, there's this field called human-centered design, where the focus is on really playing an empathetic role in understanding the needs of customers, of patients, of clients, in any industry, and being able to support those needs, support their wants in the most skillful way. And that sort of has to permeate throughout. And I think throughout the organization, teams, and into leadership. And I think, like you said, right now, that things are changing so rapidly that if we don't have that pulse, we're gonna miss a lot. Let alone just from operations side of things, but also from a strategic growth side of things. And another, I've never heard that problems are, challenges and problems are mutating. I think that's such a great way of reframing the situations that where we're in our lives as leaders or individuals, that they're organic. It's not a one and done. Hey, here's this situation. Now I found a solution for it. No, these are situations that are continuously mutating, continuously evolving, and so we need to be continuously figuring it out. I love that. It goes from like a static to or an organic type of approach. When we look at currently at Integris, and when we look at creating cultures that can really create a learning mindset, and also an approach, a human-centered approach where there's empathy and listening across the organization. What does Integris do exceptionally well in terms of its leadership and culture that you feel can really support some of these key values that you've been pointing to?
So Integris is a community-based credit union. That's not just a slogan. It's a strategy. It's a belief. It's how we survive. It's how we serve. And members who we serve on a daily basis know us personally. They see us on hockey rinks, food drives. They know the name of the branch managers, and they have access. They know their name. They can just walk in and can ask any questions. So the managers are there to serve them. The staff is there to serve them. Helping somebody start a business at a lower cost is how we help our members. We compete with bigger financial institution at times at a lower cost to our member, low interest rate to our members. So this is what we are. This is who we are. The smaller the financial institution is, the higher the cost of operations are. So our challenge is to ensure the cost remains lower, a member gets better service, better rates. At the same time, because of this personal relationship with the members, we do listen to their problems. We do listen to their the issues that they're going through. Recently, an application came in. The person was going through some rough time at a very low credit score, and he was almost at a default. He would have not gotten any loan from any other financial institution. We took a chance on him and we just extended some additional facilities so that he can pay taxes on his property, so that the house is not taken away from him. And that's how we help. We give them a chance. We give them a second opportunity, and without any extra cost. I mean, we are matching the cost that other financial institution, the big financial institution, would have charged, and things worked out for him, and so that loan didn't go delinquent, and give a second choice. A second opportunity to him. So this is the trust. This is a trust that we cherish, admire, and we are very is our asset, both from our members and the staff. So every meeting that we have, we're continuously thinking about the policies that can benefit the members. Any loan campaign that that my colleagues in the sales want to run or do run, want to approve, are continuously, rather I should say, revolves around the members and how it can help them.
So it seems like, by virtue, you're the credit union, Integris is a community-based organization. It really takes community as really a core focus. And, you have your clients, they know the staff really well, and you're integrated into the community by way of events. How does leadership show up in fostering that sense of community in there, and yeah, and then how does leadership support the staff? And is that something, like for example, being integrated into the community? Is that something that is a part of what leadership communicates, or do they? Yeah, how does that look like within Integris?
As I mentioned, I mean, it's not that it has to be ingrained into people. People are from the community. They are thinking about it. The whole culture is developed around these people who we serve, people who are a part of the community. Many people who have gone to high school with them, or their kids are going uh, to high school with their kids. So there's a natural attachment with those people. In terms of leadership, yes, when we sit on an ELT table, we do discuss how we can help them, how can we can make things easier with recent tariff related matters when things were getting unpredictable, with the Integris being in that north central BC location where there was a lot of impact, a potential impact that was being felt. We were there. We were there. We gave the confidence to our members that we would be here looking after your finances. If you have any issues, you can definitely reach out to us, and we will work things around. And I want to take you back to those COVID days. COVID days, everything was a chaos. People were struggling with the payment, to pay off their loans, and that's where credit unions like Integris came in and provided support by letting members skip the payments if they cannot make it, to sit with them, talk with them, and understand their issues, what they're going through. And that goes on today also. I mean, we are adopting the same playbook. That is what's going on. And if we can be of any help. And interestingly, Integris is one of the lowest. Integris has one of the lowest, if not the lowest anymore, but one of the lowest delinquencies ratio in the credit union around that area in the north central British Columbia. So this has helped us again. A lot goes on, and lot of discussion goes on regarding the policy that would positively impact our members, and that probably has driven us to be a great organization during a very challenging financial times where interest rates were going up last year, and now they're coming down drastically. So
Yeah, it's counterintuitive, right? There could be this fear-based mentality of to not act in that way and benefit of our clients, our members, customers. And yet it's interesting to hear that affordances are being made and support is being extended, and that actually yields in a beneficial direction. It actually, even on the bottom line, in terms of here, like what you were saying about delinquencies, being some of the lowest in the industry in your area. And so, it's refreshing to hear that. And I think it's so important that we hear that. Now, I want to go and look at, the teams, the people at Integris. You mentioned that, in one of our conversations, that one of the greatest leadership challenges that you've faced is ensuring that staff stay motivated and aligned. And so, why is motivation such a critical factor in successful leadership from your perspective?
Michael, one thing that I've learned throughout my experience is strategy. Any strategy is useless if the people who have to execute it, part of that execution, are not motivated. Motivation is the fuel of leadership. That's what I call. So motivating team just to ensure that they understand what is required to be able to achieve those goals is very critical. It's the motivation that would help organization reach their goals. Based on my experience, when the staff is motivated, there's a high correlation. I don't have any data to prove. I have only my observations, my experience that tell me that whenever the people are motivated, they know the goals, they know what is expected of them, what is the strategy of the organization. That transforms directly. I mean, that thing is directly correlated with the bottom line profitability. For example, I just give more, if I can give you an example here. I worked and during my initial earlier professional days, I used to work in a credit rating agency where, for due diligence purposes, I had to travel to different location, visit different factories, and factories where people were working for the sake of working without having understanding and knowledge of, let's say, the amount of wastage is happening, and what are the goals that have been set by the production facility manager or supervisor. And those were the organizations that were actually doing poorly. Their profitability and their margins were much lower. On the other hand, those factories where people knew what is expected of them, what is the wastage ratio, where they stand, how they can further improve, and they knew that their supervisor would be listening to them, because again, those are the eyes and the ears of the management, right? And those were the organizations that were doing very well in terms of profitability and margins. So just 5-10 minutes of walk on the floor of the factory could actually tell you uh, where are the financials going. Similarly, if an organization is listening to the people, and or the leaders are listening to their people, their team members, whether they're juniors or seniors or newcomers or less experienced, uh, they would have a staff that would know the strategy, or at least would understand, try to understand what are the goals of the organization. And there you go, you have the productivity. I mean, productivity and efficiency and effectiveness has tend to become more of a buzzword. But in order to achieve those, you have to listen, you have to understand, you have to communicate those goals, and then devise those tactics to achieve those goals.
Mm. It really resonates. What the phrase that comes up is that culture comes first when you look at when it comes to high performance, and that the productivity. And Lauren Dunn from she's the chief of staff at WIS, an accounting firm that's really leading the way with AI integration into it. She shared a very similar story around how important it is to foster that sense of alignment as from a leadership perspective, to foster a sense of empathy and authentic listening and presence in being able to cultivate that type of culture, and to stay with that. There's some interesting research around it's called the Team Climate Inventory. It's one inventory, this a survey that's utilizing some research studies to assess the performance potential of teams. And some of the core domains in this Team Climate Inventory is there alignment on the direction of the organization? Is there support for innovation? Is there feeling of safety to be able to share things that are perhaps contrary to what other people, are thinking is happening? So can you share the difficult things? And I think that really goes in alignment to, what you were sharing, here, is what can lead to that, optimal type of culture, where people feel for teams to have that sense of motivation, for individuals to be motivated. And it's so like basic human 101 principles, is there communication where people feel a sense of safety and trust? Do I feel like I'm listened to? And is there action, based on the things that I share? Are we all moving in the same direction? And I think something that you've shared before is this sort of synergy and energy in a sense is in alignment. And when looking at Integris, what are some practical ways do you to ensure building this synergy and ensuring the team feels connected to the bigger goals? How is that fostered at Integris?
I have four different teams that report into me. So what I do is I ensure that people from different teams, I mean, there is no wall between them, and they can communicate, and they should be communicating also. So there's a lot of integration of work that goes on. There's a lot of communication that we that happens. Um, so that makes things easier. And as I always say, 1+1 is not 2, 1+1 is 11. And the synergy we sometimes only talk about in terms of finances or finance, that, two organizations working together, and there are synergies. And there, synergies can be as basic in a basic task as, I think, probably managing a spreadsheet. Probably somebody from collection department and somebody from non-adjudication department, if they connect, things becomes easier, better, more manageable, less stressful. So yeah, I ensure, and others do in my organization, my colleagues, they make sure that their team members are interacting and connecting with other people, making sure that things are achieved, the goals are achieved effectively.
Yeah, and I think, just hearing that this sense of continuous, I think it comes back to this learning mindset and fostering that as well. I think there's something about this curiosity that you've been speaking about that really rings true for me, is cultivating this authentic curiosity of what is happening, what is happening with our members, what is happening with our customers or clients, being able in that listen, observe, and act model that you shared in terms of effective leadership. How do we foster that across our teams to have similarly that learning mindset of what's happening in other departments, what's happening across teams where we can communicate with each other and to see how we can support each other most effectively, and I think, these are all practical and very simple steps, I think, that can be integrated across any organization. And so, thinking about it, maybe just as we near the end of this episode, I wanted to sort of bring it back to your story. You've described immigrating to Canada and having to sort of quote unquote start over as both a painful and transformative. And so, how did that experience shape your leadership mindset today?
But starting over is one of the hardest thing I've ever done. Um, it's definitely easy said than done. So I immigrated about 7 years back to Canada from Abu Dhabi, where I had a senior leadership role in a financial institution there. So moving was not easy in terms of professional. You have to start your professional career all over again, which I did. And personally also, was not used to weather of prairies. And only after about a month, I had to face that, how cold it can become. But what's more critical is that there was a realization that I am starting all over again. Maybe I've gone back 10 to 15 years, and there were only two ways forward. Keep thinking that and cribbing about it, whining about it, or do something about it. I chose latter. Wanted to do something about it. And I realized I've gone back about 10, 15 years. And then I thought that if I'm 10, 15 years, if life has thrown me back 10, 15 years, what should I do? What was I supposed to do, or what I wanted to do, which I couldn't do? So I started my MBA program from Kellogg, as I mentioned earlier. Um, which again was a very challenging program where they would not they would make you understand to get out of your comfort zone and get on the street. There were many electives where they would throw us on the street just to try to understand the problem, think about the problem, and resolve that problem. I mean, I have been on the streets of Puerto Rico, non-touristy areas of Puerto Rico, understanding the problem of a developing nation, kids in a developing nation. And I've been on the streets of London, understanding the problems faced by the students in schools like Imperial College or London School of Economics or LBS, where they had different set of problems. So the choices that I made after realizing that a lot is still in my hand made me understand what opportunities lies out there, how to connect different aspect. Again, I have given you an example of students whom I spoke in Puerto Rico, Costa Rica, and students in London, UK. And that actually, that sense of understanding or analyzing different things and coming up with a solution help me as a leader, help me as a human to move forward, help me give me courage to move forward. Because whenever you take a step towards a direction of moving forward, it's not easy. It's easy to say that the success starts from the first step, but every step sometimes requires a lot of energy. But having an understanding the opportunities that are out there, having the understanding of what people are going through, and understanding of what you're going through, and have that analytical mindset definitely helps. And that did help me.
Thank you for sharing. At a time right now where it's anticipated in the next 3 to 5 years, like 60% of the global workforce is going to be impacted through some pretty massive change around this agentic AI, right? AI, where you can set up these workflows to do different work. That it's going to be a time that's being forecasted, and I feel the same way about it. I'm forecasting it as well, that there's going to be a lot of these start over moments for so many of us, and that those of us who can have a learning mindset, as you've shared, open, accepting, curious, and that these are the skills that are going to be essential to get through this time, to stay agile and to stay flexible and being able to move and learn what needs to be learned and take those steps backwards, sideways, every which way to be able to traverse this new reality. And conversely, those with more rigid mindsets, inflexible, closed, it's gonna be it's gonna be a really hard life. And so thank you so much for sharing that, Humayun. And if a leader is listening today, and hello leaders, and they wanted to strengthen their ability to lead with a learning mindset, where should they begin? What would you offer them as your piece of advice? Where should they start?
My piece of advice would be observant, come out of their comfort zone. Because again, things are changing so dynamically and drastically on a daily basis. What was true a couple of years back is not true anymore. And they need to listen to the people who are out there in their team, closer to the operation and a daily, day-to-day routine, and close to, in a financial institution, close to their clients or the members, and in a factory setting, close to the machine and the work environment. So I guess the important aspect is they need to be curious, observant, and mindful of the fact that their strength are those people who are out there working for them, interacting with the outer world, with the members, and with their potential clients.
Mm. Thank you. And to finish off here, how can our audience learn more about your work and to connect with you?
Well, I only use one social media platform. That's LinkedIn. That has helped me a lot grow in terms of growing my net. I am open to connecting with people who want to connect, and I'm a learner. Without learner, I doubt I can proceed forward as a leader. With, as I mentioned, with dynamically changing world, which is changing on a daily basis. So I would love to hear people, whoever would be listening to this, if they have any thoughts, if they agree, if they disagree, if they think I can be of any help, support, or they can extend any support to me, I would be more than happy.
Lovely. Humayun, thank you so much for joining me today and sharing your journey.
Thank you. Thank you, Michael, for having me.
From navigating global cultural differences to motivating teams through organizational change, I think this has been a very powerful example of how leaders can thrive by staying curious and continuously learning. And I think there's a lot that we can all pull away from some of these insights and conversations. I think one of the biggest things for me is this, listen, observe, and then act. I think it's just such a simple acronym, LOA, that we can bring forward into our lives. And so, thank you to all of our listeners for tuning in. This has been another episode of Leading Minds Revealed. I'm Michael Apollo, and I look forward to seeing you next time.
Leading Minds Revealed podcast requires more than a conversation. It takes action, research, and collective wisdom. If today's episode resonated with you, we'd love to hear your insights, join the conversation, and help us shape the future together. We'll be back with more stories, strategies, and real-world solutions that are making a difference for everyone. In the meantime, be sure to subscribe, rate, write a review, and share it with someone you think would benefit from it too. Thanks for listening, and see you on the next episode.